Independence Day celebration, and we have been speaking on the president's speech so far. I guess we must thank you, TV host, columnist Samuel Mashaye, for your time on the program, and former manager, Public and Government Affairs, Mobile Oil Nigeria PLC, CEO, chronicler, and associate Akin Fatunke. Our time is up and we need to go. We must also thank senior fellow lecturer, Kano College of Education and Preliminary Studies, Skyline University, Nigeria, and the political analyst, Dr. Kabiru Sufi, for your time, gentlemen, on the program. I will be handing over to my colleagues now who are in our Abuja studio. Precious Amayo and Ayodele Ozubaku are standing by already. It's good to see you both. The celebration seemingly has begun, though low-key in earnest, especially with the president's speech, and reactions have already been pouring in, especially from my guests here in the studio. Precious?
Absolutely, Veronica. First of all, let me just say well done to you. I saw the effort you were making to try and calm your guests, because there's a lot, to talk about today. Everyone has something to say, especially, in regards to the president's speech. But on this side of the country, it's the same thing. Everybody was waiting for that speech because they were hoping that it would calm, straight nerves. They didn't do that. We're going to be speaking to that, even more on the show today as well.
Yeah. 64 years down the line, and the president just went, straight to what the main issues are.
It's one of the highlights of that speech. No greetings, just straight to it. Now let's get into the program. 64 years ago, the British Union Jack was lowered at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos, and the green and white flag hoisted in its stead, signifying the birth of a new independent nation. Now, on that day, on the 1st of October 1960, Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa led his fellow nationalists to sign that document that granted Nigeria the power of self-determination, uniting the country from the colonial contract with Britain. That freedom is what we are celebrating today.
In doing this, we reflect on our journey so far, recognizing the challenges and celebrating the achievements we honored and the sacrifices of our past heroes, and celebrate the resilience and determination of the Nigerian spirits, though our euphoria of becoming independent was tested at different stages, culminating in a 30-month conflict. The forces of unity emerged stronger, defeating disintegration. We therefore do not fail to count the cost of nationhood, and at the same time reminding ourselves that whatever that threatens our unity may not be as strong as what binds us together.
Now, thanks for staying with us on TVC News on this special day. We'll begin this segment of our coverage from our Abuja studio. We have our eyes at the presidential villa, where an independence event will be held with President Bola Tinubu in attendance, and we will join the event as soon as we get the signals. I am Precious Amayo.
I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Earlier today, President Bola Tinubu delivered a national address outlining the government's vision for a brighter future and reaffirming its commitment to unity, peace, and progress. Let's share with you some of the highlights of the presidential broadcast.
We can look back, and Nigerians worldwide can see how well we have succeeded in realizing the lofty dream of our founding fathers. The world is witnessing and benefiting from the can-do spirit of Nigerian people, our massive intellectual capacity, and our enterprise and industry in all vocations, from art to science, technology to infrastructure. The dreams that our founding fathers envisaged are still work in progress. Every day, we put our hands on the plow, determined to do a better job of it. While it is tempting to focus on what has been left undone and where we have stumbled as a nation, we must never lose sight of how far we have come in forging and holding our country together. I am deeply aware of the struggles many of you face in these challenging times. Our administration knows that many of you struggle with rising costs and search for meaningful employment. I want to assure you that your voices are heard. As your president, I assure you that we are committed to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate the suffering of our citizens. Once again, I plead for your patience as the reforms we are implementing show positive signs, and we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Exactly 64 years ago, our founding fathers chose democracy as a form of government and launched the dream of a great country that will lead the rest of Africa out of poverty, ignorance, and underdevelopment. A beacon of hope for the rest of Africa and the world. Over 6 decades later, we can look back and Nigerians worldwide can see how well we have succeeded in realizing the lofty dream of our founding father.
Now, first guest on the show today was born on the 4th of April 1957. He's a Nigerian politician, a former Minister of State for Works, former senator who represented Ekiti South Senatorial District and Senate spokesman. He holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Ibadan. He was a member of the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, which means that he was involved in the national struggles to end military rule and a return to democracy in Nigeria. He was also the National Publicity Secretary of the Pan-Yoruba Social Political Group, Afenifere, and now he is the current chairman, Nigerian Ports Authority. Thank you. Let's bring in our guest, Dayo Adeyeye. He joins us from Abuja studio. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Happy Independence Anniversary.
Same to you, but we just wonder if that's how all Nigerians are feeling today, whether it is happy, and whether it is independent, which are the two questions Nigerians will question when you say Happy Independence Day. And as you listen to the president's speech, what did it reflect to you, as we touched on that briefly? What did you get from that message, and do you think that it has achieved any purpose in quelling, all of that straight nerves that we're talking about with Nigerians?
Yes, I say Happy Independence Anniversary again. Number one, we are independent, truly independent nation. No matter how we want to define it, Nigeria is independent. We take our own decisions by ourselves. We own our own government by ourselves. Nobody dictates to us. And we should be happy. Number one, we have sustained this nation for 64 years after the colonial masters departed. We have faced so many challenges: a civil war, challenges in terms of disruptions of our political system by constant military interventions, the campaign for democracy and all those struggles. And yet we are here in Nigeria, we are here as Nigerians. The country is surviving, the country is remaining indivisible. We are even more unified today than before. So I say it is a happy day for us in Nigeria. Now, regarding the president's speech, yes, Nigeria is going through very serious challenges, challenges of hyperinflation in terms of food prices and the prices of commodities generally. But this is a worldwide phenomenon. Even in America, if you watch the presidential debate of, between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump, you find that featured prominently in their debate, the issue of inflation. Inflation is worldwide, and so Nigeria is not an exception. We are not allowed to ourselves to expect that while the whole world is experiencing inflation, we can be out of it.
Senator, let's spell it out now. If you have a 64-year-old man,
yes,
a 64-year-old man,
yes,
that person should be like a grandfather by now, or just close to a grandfather. Holistically, when you look at the country at 64, do you think we are doing well? A man, will you say you have done well for yourself?
Yes, I will say that. I will say that by and large, we are not perfect. Things have not worked perfectly for us. But we should not just do self-condemnation all the time. There are certain positives about Nigeria. Nigeria, look at it. Nigeria was made up of, is made up of at least over 500 ethnic groups. To comb these people together, put them in a box, and ask them to relate with each other. People with diverse religion, diverse culture, diverse background, history, and everything, and we are still together living as one, as one nation. To me, that is a major achievement. It is not easy. You don't just take Nigeria and begin to compare with the nations of Europe. Those are the same people, the same ethnic formation, the same nationality, all of them. But here in Nigeria, we have over 500 different nationalities, living cohabiting together and living together and trying to define a common aspiration for ourselves. To me, that is a major achievement, that we are still one and the same, that we are still one nation up till now. So, of course, we have challenges in terms of the economy of the nation, in terms of the development. People felt that we have not moved rapidly like other countries like Malaysia, like Singapore, but those are the challenges that we face are not exactly the same as those other countries. It's not easy to compare a city-state like Singapore with a multi-ethnic, highly diverse country like Nigeria. It's not easy to run a country like that.
But Senator, sorry to come in, because many people will say Nigeria is not the only multi-diverse nation in the world. And whilst Ayo was speaking, he talked about being 64 and being a grandfather. And I was going to say it depends on when you get married. And that brings me to my question of, are we a married country? Are we together? Are we a nation? Because a lot of people disagree with you when we say, we have multi-ethnicity and we are come to nationhood. Some people don't think that we have achieved nationhood yet. They say we're a country.
Acknowledged by the late Obafemi Awolowo that the word Nigeria is just a geographical expression and not an entity.
Fine, but we have moved from that to now. I'm sure when Chief Awolowo made that statement, of course Nigeria was not what it is today.
After the 2023 elections,
people are just
still seeing semblance of that.
People are just coming together at that point. But we are still one nation. Everybody, nation building is a work in progress.
Some people say forced unity.
It's not forced unity. If it is not for unity, I believe that most Nigerians have come to accept that we have to keep this nation as one. I think most Nigerians have come to that realization.
So
because people realize the consequences. Look, you are here in Abuja, staying here. I am living in Abuja here. This is not where I come from. And most Nigerians are in different parts of the country, living and doing their businesses. I don't think a lot of people want the country to be separated, the country to disintegrate. I don't think so. I think a lot of Nigerians want a very strong, vibrant nation, a nation that can take them to the next developmental level. That is what we all aspire to be. But we do not think that we are not a nation. And nation building, like I said, is a work in progress. Even countries that are older than Nigeria, like America, they still face a lot of challenges in terms of nation building.
Along the line, within the 64 years, we had several military interregnums. And did that in any way, was that a kind of development or a kind of setback?
It was a setback for the nation to have those military interregnums. And I say it with all sense of responsibility. Look at it, the rapidity of development between 1952, when self-government started, not independent, self-government, internal self-government started in Nigeria. Look at the kind of achievements that Chief Awolowo had in the West, Nnamdi Azikiwe in the East, Sir Ahmadu Bello in the North. Look at the kind of things they were able to do, just coming into government fresh, without experience, without anything to fall back on, and they recorded those those great achievements. Nigeria at that point in time was developing faster than Singapore, than Malaysia, than many of the Southeastern nations, even more than India, faster than India. And that development continued until 1965 when the military came in. And the military more or less disrupted the whole system, the quenched democracy, they disrupted our federal system. And rather than continue to build on the federal principle, they more or less tried to bring a unitary system of government into Nigeria. Thinking in the erroneous belief that uniformity is equal to unity. If you impose uniform things all over the country, then you unify the country. That's not it. Our forefathers negotiated for the federalism. And federalism is a veritable tool for rapid development because it allows the person to move at his own pace.
So I wanted to ask you, you have talked about, everybody wants to be together, nobody wants, the country to disintegrate. But all of the grumblings
majority of the people,
all of the grumblings and murmurings that we see today, where is it coming from? And then you also talked about, we've highlighted all of the military, breaks that we had in governance. And between that and the civil war, because we haven't even addressed that at all, and the president mentioned it today in his speech, which of them do you think has really impacted the nation, and where should we begin to address it?
Well, the military interregnum set us back several years, because with democracy, you can always discuss your issues and come to an agreement. The military, they try to impose decisions, they are trying to force down the truth of everybody, their own ideas. And then they try to impose decisions on the people, decisions that may not be good for everybody. But democracy is a question of trial and error. You try, if it doesn't work, you try another thing. And all of you can come into a consensus. Now we have had over 25 years of uninterrupted democracy. And I can tell you, we have also recorded within this period tremendous progress. Tremendous progress.
A lot of people will still say that we've not gotten it right, that we should go back to that system of government we started from in 1960, but a parliamentary system of government, that this presidential system of government is expensive. This federal system of government, we are practicing federal unitary system of government in the guise of federalism.
Well, it's a matter of a very interesting debate whether we should go back to parliamentary system or continue with our presidential system. Our forefathers negotiated a parliamentary system of government in a federal, with
you mentioned the competition that time.
Yes, and if a parliamentary system of government is less expensive to run, but it also engender instability. For instance, a presidential system of government guarantees a certain term for elected officials. If you are elected as a governor, there is certainty that all things being equal, if you are not impeached, impeachment is not an easy process. You are going to spend your 4 years. But in the case of parliamentary system of government, why it is cheaper, why it is less sophisticated, the thing is that it will engender in a country like Nigeria instability, where everybody wants to be a leader at all costs. So you might find that the government that has been elected for a period of 4 years, just 1 year into it, you will find, as you see in our houses of assembly, people gathering together and say, okay, they don't want this leader again. And then that government falls. So, and I think that was what motivated the military to now say, go for a presidential system of government where there is guaranteed a certainty of terms for the elected officials. So, it's debatable. You weigh the pros and the cons, the advantages and the advantages. But what matters mostly is that you should run a democracy. Because I still believe democracy is the best form of government for any nation. Now, if you look at it, the main problem that Nigeria is facing, from my own perspective, is what the military damage they have done in terms of destroying the federal character of Nigeria. If we are going to go to the agreement of our forefathers, let us begin again to dismantle the centralization of government. Let us begin to decentralize. Let us begin to decentralize in terms of giving more power to the states, in terms of giving more responsibility to the states,
removing those
in terms
items,
of giving more resources
the
to
exclusive
the
list,
in terms of giving more latitude for the state to determine their own affairs.
Yeah.
That is the only way, because the central is overburdened, the central is over-centralized.
More like devolution of powers. But
yes.
Before we even get into that conversation, I wanted to ask, we know that the military lives in any country at all, whether once there is a military intervention or military interregnum, what you find is a toxic legacy that would trail on for years. But we've also had individuals arise in some countries after that military interregnum and take hold of leadership and build their country. Have we even done any better? Have you seen anything different between this past 25 years of democracy and the military interregnum that you're talking about? Because a lot of Nigerians who were born then and now will tell you, well, they don't think that there is so much difference in how leadership was then and now.
Yes, and Precious, to add to what you just said, some people in the guise of the system of government, a lot of people will say the copy and paste democracy from the United States of America that would tailor our 1979 constitution after that is not working for us. A lot of people will want to tell you that, look at what is happening in Rwanda. A lot of people will want to tell you that,
truly speaking, is Rwanda a democracy?
Yes, that's what they want to. It doesn't have to be democracy, but something autochthonous to them. Some people will want to talk about, look at what Thomas Sankara did for his own people. Some people will want to say, if he's military guys and a benevolent military man that can put the country.
Even if you don't go to Rwanda, Senator, let's talk about Botswana, which is even a smaller country that Nigeria doing so well, beating their country. Is there a difference between the military era and the democratic era we say we have today?
Oh, there is a big, huge difference. Big difference between the military era. Look, let us, it's easy to forget a lot of things, you know, and to allow amnesia to reign over your thoughts. The truth of the matter is that let's go back to the military era and see how Nigeria fared during military. Particularly starting with Babangida or Buhari. Buhari's come in 1984 to the end of Abacha regime in 1998 or Absalami regime in 1999. Within those periods, Nigeria was completely static. It was the period SAP was introduced. It was the period the exchange rate that we are complaining now skyrocketed. It was a period in which all our industries died, virtually. At the time, my person like me graduated in 1978, finished youth service in 1979. I came coming to Lagos. You see industries all over the place. In the Lupeju, in Oshodi, in the Obankran, industries were everywhere. And then suddenly, before our own eyes, between 1984 and 1996, all the industries were dead. That is the military for you. The industries were not established by the military, they were established by our forefathers during the civilian regime in the First Republic. The
textile mills,
the textile industries, all of the cocoa industry, everywhere, the pharmaceutical companies in the background, they all died. And the same thing happened in the north. The textile factories in the north. It was done in the military, Kaduna, that all these industries died. In terms of education, it was a period in which professors were being paid like 10,000 naira per month. It was a period in which universities deteriorated abysmally. It was a period in which infrastructural decay multiplied all over the country. So Nigerians should not easily forget all those eras. And it was a period in which you have no freedom to even think or decide anything. As journalists, now you enjoy your freedom. It was a period in which journalists, don't forget Decree 2 and Decree 4, that even if you are saying the truth under Decree 4, you can still be jailed if it's embarrassing the government. Is that the kind of government you want to, the system you want to live under? Nigerians easily forget things. Now, and it was a period in which we don't even know your budget, no debate, no nothing. One man just signs it. There is no argument.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker, and you just have to take it hook, line, and sinker. But now, since the advent of democracy in 1999 to now, we have increased the number of universities in this country, number of polytechnics, educational expansion has taken place. All over the place, more people are going to school. There is free education. We have created agencies like UBEC, agencies like Tech Fund to take care of all these institutions. All these things were absent in the long years of military regime. And not only that, in terms of infrastructural development, more airports, more roads, more dams, a lot of other developmental efforts all over the country, even by state governments. So, to me, whereas I could look back and say in my state, which was formerly Ondo State and then later Ekiti, I did not see the military do anything during that period there. I could see what the civilian regimes have done. They have created universities, they have created their polytechnics, they are doing a lot of other things. So, if you look at it in summary, you will find that military government was irresponsible. Military government is not accountable. It's not accountable to anybody. You don't even ask questions. Your budget is just driven down your throat like that. It's approved by one person. I remember a former secretary to the government of the Federation under a military regime told me, I said, so how do we even make laws under your military regime in those days? He said, a law is made when the Attorney General have drafted it and the President have signed it, it becomes law. Whether the public knew about it or not, it's not debated.
We are now in a democracy, whether we like it or not, and we know that there is no going back for us. This is where we are now.
I said this thing because I saw that in the last protest, some people are even calling for a return to military regime. They have forgotten that some of us who fought for this democracy will never allow military to come back. We were ready to fight even more with our blood than allow a military regime to come, because we suffered under military regime. We suffered under, and Nigeria deteriorated, and Nigeria sank under the military regime. It was a regime in which a president would take decisions to take Nigerian troops to another country without even telling the people of the country and without taking permission from anybody, and then commit a lot of resources into that. Did you see how many wars Nigeria was fighting all over the place under the military regime without the consensus, the agreement of Nigerian people, the approval of Nigerian people? and resources were being wasted all over the place. Nobody wants to be, I don't want to live under a military regime. The worst form of democracy is better than the so-called...
I'm sure even those who are calling for it probably were quite young then, or where they won't call for it. But I wanted to ask you, because the people who really seem a bit disgruntled and disconnected, especially, are young people. And the president sort of touched on that again in his speech. I just wanted to also marry that speech with this conversation where he talked about the 1 month, is it national confab for young people that's going to run. How should that work? Because I'm thinking in my mind, would it address all the issues that young people have?
I'm happy that the president is at least trying to bring the young people to the table. You see, the young people of this country feel alienated, and rightly so. They feel highly alienated. They finish school, there is no job for them. They are disoriented. Their best years are wasting away. So they feel that they are disadvantaged. I mean, they feel that they are alienated. They feel they are not part of the whole thing. They are disgruntled. They are unhappy, and they are rightly so. I agree with them. I see a lot of young people who should have been using their talent, and you know, your talent is even more. Your creativity is highest between the ages of 15 to about 30. Your creativity, your energy is greatest. If you are a footballer, you must be playing well around that time. If you are a creative person, you must be writing the best novels, the best plays around that time. Achebe wrote his Things Fall Apart when he was about 25. Soyinka did the Death and the King's Horseman and The Lion and the Jewel when he was 26. So that is one of the best years. And for our youth, those years, they are wasting them away. So the president is right in trying to bring them to the table. Let us address their concerns. Let them even provide solutions for their own problems themselves. Don't think you have the answer for their problem. Let the youth themselves discuss their issues and try to chart a path for themselves. Provide solutions. This is what we want. This is what we think can advance our interest. And the president in that book has also said, we will implement the recommendations. And I like that line. He said, we will implement the recommendations.
Not the previous
not that just like a document you go and throw it to the dustbin, or you're allowed to catch dust in the on the chips.
I say, or something to keep the youth busy.
Yes, let the youth profile. Let them. It's an opportunity for them now to say, okay, this man has given us an opportunity. Let us sit down. What is the best way forward for us to really make sure that we are involved in that, to really make sure that we're involved in this system, that the economy we are participating effectively, politically we are participating effectively, we are contributing our own quota to development of the nation, because without the youth participating, Nigeria can never move forward.
You mentioned earlier, the sense of competition, between ethnic nationalities. Now, the ethnic nationalities cohabit in mutual suspicion, distrust, and, malice. The malice there, after the 2015 election, is barely concealed. We have a problem when it comes to, ethnic nationalities in the country right now.
Yes, that is expected. It's expected, but to me, Nigeria is still making advance. We are still advancing our democracy and our tolerance of each other. Even the voting. If you analyze the voting itself, the votes, the pattern of voting in the last election, if you analyze it, a person like Obi was able to win in Lagos. Atiku won in Osun State. These things were not possible in the First Republic. These things were not possible in the Second Republic.
All right, Senator, sorry, permit me to put you on hold. We need to go on break. We know that activities are going on as well in the presidential villa. We're going to bring you that once we get the signal. But let's take a break now. We will be back in just a moment.